You're watching Left, Right and Centre this Friday night. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the programme this evening, as a Christian school sees a robbery taking place this morning, the Prime Minister has now intervened after a series of church attacks in Delhi and has summoned the Police Commissioner of Delhi after being attacked for his silence on a series of attacks earlier. Is this intervention a result of the Delhi drubbing? That's a question that we're asking on a day when the city woke up to the news of yet another incident involving a Christian institution, this time the Holy Child School. In fact, HRD Minister Smriti Irani used to study there and she was quick to go and see what exactly happened at the school. Now, the police have said that this was not a communal attack, that it was actually a robbery. But the Prime Minister just hours later intervened and summoned the Police Commissioner B.S. Bassi and expressed concern over incidents of vandalism. There have been 5 church attacks before this in 2 months in Delhi, but only 1 case has been solved. What really has been going on? Who has been behind these attacks? Why have these attacks been happening? And is the Prime Minister's intervention welcome? Should it have happened earlier? And will it make a difference? And is it the result, of course, of the Delhi elections? Joining us on the program tonight, we have Father Shankar, the spokesperson of the Archdiocese of Delhi, here in the studio with us. Mani Shankar Iyer of the Congress Party. Also with us, Mr. GVL Rao from the BJP. Atishi Marlena, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, and Tavleen Singh, columnist and author, here in the studio with us. I'll actually ask Tavleen first. Do you believe that this was a welcome intervention, and do you believe that something changed after the Delhi result?
I think that's without question that it must have been that, because the Prime Minister's silence in the face not just of the attacks on churches, which, by the way, have never happened before, because if they were, I mean, it's a bit strange that they should happen so frequently in this particular period, because have there been attacks on churches before? Not that anybody knows of.
Not with this kind of frequency, maybe
not
an odd theft here or there.
And I think if the Prime Minister had spoken up earlier, it would have stopped. If he'd sacked that minister who made that awful remark, you know, it would have improved the atmosphere. So I think he's left it very late. And, you know, we have to be grateful to the Aam Aadmi Party for having won this kind of victory, which hopefully will wake the Prime Minister up.
Okay, so interesting there, Father Shankar. Are you satisfied? Are you at least satisfied today, or do you feel a little comforted that at least the PMO and the PM himself intervened on this?
Yeah, first and foremost, better late than never. And second, I would like to also remind the Honourable Prime Minister, a stitch in time saves 9. But to make the same statement, same action, if you have to do it before Christmas, a lot of these incidents could have been avoided. And also, still we are hoping that the police, the government, especially the Home Ministry, assures us, not only in words but also in concrete actions, that no more incidents take place again in future.
So do you still sense a sense of reluctance on the part of the police to acknowledge the seriousness of what has happened? Because that seemed to be the case this morning as well when you talked to the police, and yet, you know, after Mr. Bassi was summoned, suddenly the whole mood changed.
Yeah,
right?
That's what. See, even we met the Home Minister just a week back on the 5th of February. They said the police would be there in every church, every institution, and they remained till the 7th, till the elections got over. And within now 3-4 days, we have another incident. So it really reflects badly on the Delhi police. And Vasant Vihar is a high-profile zone where you have the diplomats, ambassadors residing there. Why should these things happen in such a high-profile zone?
So, Mr. GVL Rao, how do you take that observation that Tavleen Singh in particular made, that this is a result of the Delhi elections? Now the Prime Minister is speaking out and has perhaps realized after the polls that this is something that needed to be done.
No, I think she can have any views on this issue, but the reality is that the Ministry of Home Affairs had sought a report from Delhi Police on February 2nd on the 5 incidents of the vandalism and theft that have happened over the last 2 months. And in fact, some members of even the Christian community, I'm reading their press reports and their statements, have possibly felt there could be some connection with the Delhi elections. And certainly this is not something that would actually have contributed anything to the BJP's performance at all. But the government had come down heavily earlier itself. There were people arrested in cases pertaining to some of these incidents.
Only one.
And also the kind of bad press, the kind of bad press, not just domestically, internationally, I think certainly adds to the pressure, because let me also remind your viewers, nearly 300 temples the incidents of theft have happened over the last 1 year. But certainly I think that it's the duty of the government to assure the minority community and to give all the protection that they require.
That the bad press may have contributed to the Prime Minister's intervention, because as you said in your right, the Home Minister had actually met a delegation of Christian leaders only recently and had promised action. A special investigation team was also set up to look at what had been happening. So for the PM to then intervene personally so soon does indicate that he felt that there was pressure, that he was being silent on this. You acknowledge that?
No, I think certainly even after the Home Ministry seeking a report as early as 2nd of February, I think this incident happens within a fortnight thereafter. Although today's incident, even the school acknowledges, or according to the school's own version, this was a case of theft. But the question is why such why are such incidents occurring with regular periodicity? And in fact, I, for one, personally think there could be a motive, there could be a political motive behind all this to give a bad name to the government. But it's certainly the duty of the government to see such incidents don't happen.
Means someone is deliberately doing it to blame the BJP.
Possibly, but let the investigations happen. No, I don't want to point any fingers. I think it would be unfair for me to really take any names. It could be political rivals. It could be certain organizations which want to give a bad name to the government. So therefore, it's the duty of the government to ensure that these things don't happen.
Okay, all right.
Let the police investigate. Let them see if there is why is there a pattern to the whole thing. This is my personal view, and certainly I think there is a pattern to this. 5-6 incidents happening within 2 months. And in the run-up to the election,
need to acknowledge that it may be people who have been emboldened to think that they can do this and get away with this because there's a certain dispensation. What do you make of Mr. Rao's comments that this could also be political?
I think I'm quite amused in some ways at what Mr. Rao says, because the fact that he's saying there's a pattern, I think it's taken the BJP a very long time to wake up to the fact that there's a pattern. Do remember that this is not the first attack that has happened. This is the 5th or 6th attack in a row. And the fact is that the Christian community has repeatedly been saying that they feel insecure about these incidents. And virtually no action has been taken. In fact, I remember when the DILSHAD Garden Church was burnt down, I think it took 2 or 3 days for the police to actually begin investigation. So the fact of the matter is that the central government, the Home Ministry, the Delhi police has not taken the action that they should have. And this is definitely a matter of concern, because the other pattern that I would like to point out to Mr. Narasimha Rao is the repeated communal statements that have been coming from people within his party or from groups associated with his party. So therefore, I think that there is a lot for the BJP to introspect, both in terms of the statements that have been coming from people associated with them, which seem to provide a tacit encouragement to this sort of activity, and secondly, even in terms of the law and order situation. But we welcome the fact that the Prime Minister has finally woken up to this serious situation, given the fact that in India, minorities have a particularly special place, and the Constitution specifically protects their rights.
What is interesting though, Mr. Iyer, is when you look at the press release that the Prime Minister's office issued after summoning the police commissioner, it actually makes no mention of the church attacks. It says that the PM summoned Mr. Bassi to express anguish and concern over rising crime rate in the capital. So it was actually, Mr. Bassi who came forward and told us that this was, this was what he was concerned about, which was what had happened at the Vasant Vihar church and so on. However, that aside, would you at least welcome that the PM has intervened on this? Better late than never is a cliche, but perhaps, it really is better late than never. We were asking why he was being quiet on this, and now he's not. He's actively intervened.
I welcome his intervention, and at the same time I condemn his description of this as vandalism when in fact it is communalism. And I'm amazed at the use of the expression by Mr. Narasimha Rao of as early as the 2nd of February, when he really ought to have said as late as the 2nd of February. These incidents have been going on ever since the government of India, under the rule of Narendra Modi, decided to downgrade Christmas by, subtly attacking the Christian community as a non-Indian community. I find it is necessary at this stage, and if I were the Prime Minister of India, of course I never will be, but if I were the Prime Minister of India, I would point out that the Syrian Christian Church is the oldest Christian church in the world, and that Christianity has been interwoven with our culture and civilization for the better part of 2100 years. Now it is this failure to appreciate the importance of the Christian community, the Christian faith and Christian ethics in the overall civilizational ethos of India that is responsible for the kind of indifference that is shown to these attacks on churches and the political motivation behind what was said.
But do you believe
clearly
that
also the
over?
contrast
do you believe
between
that
what
Smriti
Irani
with Mr. Modi summoning the police commissioner in this way? I mean, it's actually unprecedented.
Not
at all.
No,
the
Prime
Minister
it's not at all.
summoned the police commissioner and said, "Do your job."
It's not at all over. This is a mere beginning. And if it is left to that mere beginning, it will be a disaster. And it's time that Modi acknowledged that this is not vandalism, it is communalism. And it is on the basis of communalism that his party and its associates have risen to the position that they have.
Tavleen, you want to weigh in on that? I mean,
that is just rubbish, okay? There wasn't a vote, Mani Shankar Iyer, for Hindutva. And the reason why they've done so badly in Delhi is because there wasn't that vote. And when these incidents and this Ghar Wapsi and all this rubbish started, people have got disenchanted. The vote was for governance because your government ran such a lousy government, particularly in the last 3 years. Let's call a spade a spade.
So you're saying they wouldn't? You're saying they wouldn't have
used...
There was
no vote for Hindutva. That's nonsense.
There's no deliberate. I mean, not even by members of the Parivar to stir the pot, because that's what they do.
They've ridden in on the back of a vote that was not for them. The Prime Minister, throughout the election campaign for the Lok Sabha, never once mentioned Ayodhya or Ram temples or anything. What happened after that is that he was very, very negligent in not controlling these very ugly little, gatherings, and for his own minister to make that statement, she should have been sacked. But to say that the election was won in the name of communalism is just nonsense.
So who do you think is behind these series of attacks we've been seeing on the churches? I'm excluding the Holy Child incident.
Maybe it's clearly communal elements, either of whatever kind.
You don't buy this theory that it's just a crime. It's not a simple crime rate issue.
No, it's when a church is vandalized, even if it's just a crime, it's vandalism of a religious place. It's it's desecration. That's the word that is used for any religious place, even if it's just a theft.